Hey everyone. So we're live with a video that of something that I kind of posted on the OSG that I was talking about for a while. I wanted to know what made characters interesting, and then it kind of steamrolled from there into wanting to make a video about how to make an interesting character. So I'm here today with Dave, who makes some of the most interesting characters I've ever seen, who is going to be doing this video with me. So I am DM Ty. This is my channel that you're going to be watching this on, and yeah, if you don't have anything you want to add, Dave?
No, yeah, so I'm DM Dave. I got one shot on Ty's channel. I got a campaign that should be coming up as well, and sort of a compliment. Ty thinks big picture. I like to think all the nuts and bolts and the details within the character. So we're here together to hopefully give you a good view on things.
Yeah, so broad stroke, fine stroke. Um, so I kind of wanted to, so this is going to be titled a series of videos called Player Progression, or Progressive Player, not sure quite yet. But these videos are focused on helping you be a better player, helping you make more interesting characters, helping you do better RP, helping you feel like you are accomplishing your character within the group, like that you're breathing life into them. And this is going to be my first set of videos that are kind of informational, so I hope you enjoy them. And without further ado, we'll get started. So Dave has a website that he uses for himself that we're going to start off with. We're going to roll up a completely random character. We're going to show you that even a random character can play a role, can be somebody interesting, can be a character that you can make breathe in a world. So we're going to start rolling up one, and then we're going to develop a story for them. And yeah, we'll just go from there. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so I find what people have a lot of trouble with is you get too worried about the character's background and how does my background fit my job, etc. So just take it with a grain of salt, man. You just throw small pieces together, and it all builds into a big story. And when your brain's not super creative, that's where I can use this tool, which is just a series of random tables. So Ty, if you want to get your D12, then I will screen share for a moment to show everyone the tables we're using, just so you can know what it looks like. So this is what's called a character life path. You can find it if you just Google it for a D&D wiki. But I'm going to be going through all these boxes for place of birth, family, caretaker, etc., etc. And we're going to build it totally on the spot. This is a character we're making up just right now, and we'll show you it's really not too hard to make an interesting character. So to start out, let's have you roll that first D12. Let's see what we get for our place of birth.
Okay, so that's a 10.
So we were born in an alien racial environment, whether that's, so now we can make that whatever we want. If it's in the forest with elves or cave by wolves, etc. So what I would do here is I just write down alien racial environment, which I'll open up a Word document, and then you can go ahead and roll the next one.
D12 again?
Yeah.
Okay. 8.
So for our childhood environment, we had a supportive one. We were provided guidance and care and allowed room to grow and explore. Now let's get the next one.
8 again.
All right, all about the 8s. But as far as our caretakers, we were adopted. So never knew our original parents. And let's find out about caretakers with the next one.
9.
So our caretakers were merchants. So we were adopted by a couple of merchants. All right, and let's see how next one is caretaker status. So you'll roll again.
7 this time.
Okay, so here's an interesting one. So caretaker status, a 7 has us that there was a misfortune. So we're going to roll on the misfortune table to see what happened to them. So let's see what happened to our caretakers.
That is a 5.
They were crippled. So it leaves room for us to determine what it was that crippled them. But that's some accident or random encounter, or worse, is either like a partial or complete incapacitation. So now for a sibling, we're going to roll 1d6 to determine if we have siblings, and that'll tell us how many.
2.
So we got 2 siblings. Now roll a d12.
That is a 12.
So the first one has died, and we'll get you roll a d12 to figure out how.
Another d12. Okay, so 1. I mean, sorry, it was a 1, not a 12. It was a 1.
Okay, good, because 12 would have had of us kill our own sibling.
Oh snap!
But so now our first sibling died in war. Any sort of warfare reason. Now roll for the second sibling.
This is cool. I've already got a story coming together, man. Like an idea of like a character. That's another 9.
So interesting. Our second sibling hates us for whatever reason that may be. So this seems like, you're rolling, getting stats together, but just already like we're starting to build a story, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Now, roll a d12. It'll figure out what sort of clothes we wear.
10.
So, okay. We prefer no clothes. We like to be
naked.
All right, let's keep rolling again.
Oh, man. We're going to wear a loincloth. Okay, 5.
So we have a bowl cut haircut, like your typical monk or soldier. And so next one determines any marks. So let's see what we roll on that.
12.
So interesting. That mark is just a mannerism. So not a visual mark, but it's any wide range of odd behaviors, which leaves a lot of room for creativity there.
Mannerism.
Now, next one we'll go roll for our personal treasure.
Treasure. 2.
So our treasure is a toy, whether it was ours or a siblings, a childhood toy. So that's as far as just the general background. Those are flavor for a character, but they tell you where you're coming from. Now, this important one, we do significant events in our life. Now, the roll here is you roll 1d12 to determine how many significance you've had in your life. I usually say at least 5. I do at least 5 to 6 for my character, because when you see how many events there are, it takes a little while to do. But let's start off with just a couple and then see what we can get. So roll a d12 and we'll get our first significant event.
So I got 4.
So now as we do these, you keep them in chronological order for your life. So this one has a series of rolls in it. So a 4 is Lady Luck smiles upon us. So now roll another one to see how that is.
A 1.
Now that is a financial boon. So we nearly doubled our worth in lands and possessions. And that was one of our early significant events. So there's 1 down. Now roll a d12 to determine our second one.
A 5.
And this one was made a friend. So to figure out more on that, you can roll again.
Made a friend. 1.
Now this friend is someone that is older and looks after us, like a big brother or a big sister. That determines their relationship with us. The next one determines how much help they are. So if you roll again.
9.
This one is a powerful individual. Someone who is a power unto themselves, like a mage or a powerful priest.
Somebody high-ranking maybe in the military.
Yeah, so we made a friend who's like a big brother, and they're an incredibly powerful individual.
Whether that's political or like is it political or is it like strong?
It. Yeah.
So it could be political or strong. It doesn't matter.
Now, we've had a good life so far. Let's roll another event, see what happens.
That is a 12.
Interesting. So this one's a personal enlightenment. So some event that helps you grow as a person. Now for that, this one gets the crunch side of mechanics. So I usually try to include at least one of these events for my characters. So roll again, and it'll tell us what type of enlightenment it is.
A 3.
That one is an attribute improvement. So you roll again.
7.
And that would give us +1 intelligence. And now the fun part with those is that's just a blanket intelligence improvement, but now we're going to get to add whatever story flavor we want that would increase our intelligence. So that puts us at 3. Let's do 2 more, and I think we'll be good to go.
Okay, 5.
Let's see. That's made another friend.
Yay! We've had a good life so far. Except that one of our siblings is dead and the other one hates us.
That's true. I'm interested to figure that out. So roll again to see what type of friend we
that is a 10.
Now that's a gang or a tribe. So we earn friendship of an entire group of people. Now let's see how much help they are. Roll again.
9.
Another powerful individual.
Well, a powerful group, apparently.
Yeah. So maybe a group of mages or priests. Who knows? All right, let's go again.
Okay, and the last one is a 11.
Another personal enlightenment. All right, let's see what we get on this one.
Enlightenment. 3.
So that's another attribute. Roll and see what we get.
What the heck? And then 3 again.
So that's a dexterity. So we'll gain +1 to dexterity. You want to tempt the fates and see if we can get one event, see if it's something bad?
Tempt the fates, roll another d12, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see, fates. What do you got for us?
Another.
That would be a 7.
Ah, there we go. Now we made an enemy. That's a good way to finish the story. Let's figure out who this enemy is. So roll again.
4.
So the type of enemy we have is a childhood enemy. An old face we hope we'd never see again.
Interesting.
So now there are 2 roles that we would do for our enemy. The first one is to see how much trouble we're in.
12.
And so this childhood enemy is a member of royalty. Whether it's the ruling family or whatever, it's someone with pull within the kingdom. So
and I got another 12.
Now the animosity tells why they're angry, and that is that we took advantage of them, whether it was like economic, physical, you name it. We took advantage of them, so they hate us. And the last role for them, there's 2 with that, is how intense the hate is.
So d12, it is a 10.
Oh, okay. So this is what they call hot murder, which means all bets are off. So if the 2 of you even see each other, you rush towards each other trying to kill.
Whoa!
And the last one will determine who feels that way. The last roll.
Crap, man, we're in deep. 4.
Okay, so this will be interesting. The last roll is that we feel that way towards them. So to bring that back through all those rolls, our last enemy we made has been a childhood enemy. It is now a member of royalty that we hate them because they took advantage of us to the point of trying to kill them whenever we see them.
Huh.
All right, so now that was a lot of rolling and a lot of talking. So let's pull this all together, and I'll read through just the mechanics of it, so everyone can get a refresher, and then we can build a story off of it. So we were born in an alien racial environment, and throughout our childhood, we were adopted by a couple of merchants that were incredibly supportive of us and they were eventually crippled through some sort of tragedy. 2 siblings, one of them died in war, the other hates us. We prefer to be naked, and we wear a bowl cut, and we've got really odd behavior while treasuring a childhood toy. And then throughout our life, we started off pretty lucky. We doubled our worth in lands and possessions, made a powerful individual who's like a big brother to us. We were enlightened with +1 intelligence, made friends with a powerful group of people, which enlightened us with 1 dex. And then we made that, we were re-encountered with a childhood enemy who is royal, and they took advantage of us, so we want to kill them.
So I'm just tossing something out there right now. What I already see in this story, I'm seeing that the crippling thing that happened to the parents was your friend taking advantage of you. Was this childhood royalty friend. I see them as being almost powerful merchants at the time. Kind of like they were important to the economy. They had maybe a huge caravan business or something. Maybe they owned the largest iron mine. I don't know. But I almost see this royalty person, this whoever, maybe marrying into royalty, taking advantage of your family, getting your brother probably, I don't know, maybe something happened there. Maybe there was like a battle between you and your brother for like her hand or something. I don't know. But like that's why your brother hates you or your sibling hates you.
I like where you're going, man. So I think we got a connection there. So what if our family that we were adopted into had been in service to the crown? Like we were, whatever merchants we serviced the royal family.
Maybe it's almost like, I've heard of this in Game of Thrones, ironwood being sold to like the main, like they bought ironwood from that one family. It's in the Telltale games. They only bought ironwood from that family. Maybe it's kind of like that. Like we have a commodity that the royal family wants, but they can only get it from us because we're the only ones that had it.
That's perfect. And then our childhood enemy either married somehow. I don't think tying them into the royalty themselves is the key here, but having extensive pool within the kingdom, somehow they kept us from being able to supply that anymore, pulling like that rival merchant family into favor of the crown.
Maybe it's like an old friend, because like the way I'm kind of hearing it, I mean, it sounds like a war was going on. Maybe like it wasn't even our friend. Maybe this friend was that powerful friend who we looked up to as like a brother. Like, what if they became our enemy, actually? Like, this is taking place in the future from that point.
That's a good connection.
What if they became like a general in the army and they got recognized, became like captain of the guard or something?
Very good. Yeah, that's all right. So the friend that who became our big brother is the one who turns into that enemy.
Yeah, so we're like, we don't even see it coming. Like this person is like this is like the brother, because one of our brothers is dead and the other one hates us. This is like the one brother we have. And then they turn on us. So what we thought was a good life earlier turns out to be crappy.
That's perfect. So that hits on a point just for general character creation that I think we both agree with, is having a character with cool stats or having someone who is ideally equipped to play a barbarian or a warlock. That doesn't mean anything. The motivations behind it is going to make your role play and your character so much cooler. And I think we're starting to hone in our motivations here.
Yeah, definitely. One of my biggest questions I'm noticing from this, that if there was a war going on, our brother died in it, why weren't we in the war?
That's true. Maybe we were too young.
Maybe we were too young. That could be it. Or maybe we were like, maybe adding a flaw, like we're physically inadept. Like we were not able to go to the war. They wouldn't take us. Whether from some sort of sickness, maybe growing up in a racial environment, maybe like you can like ignore the bowl cut and maybe say we're Dragonborn and we were fighting against Dragonborn. They're afraid we turn on them.
I like your note. Maybe to key into the like unable to fight. So you look with enlightenment of 1 intelligence and 1 dexterity. So what if we gear ourselves toward just being because we got to think we're going to be playing D&D as well. So what class would we eventually be moving to? So what if we're frail and weak and wind up having to rely on intelligence or wisdom?
What if we were a rogue? That's why we got into the gang.
I like it.
Maybe we got into trouble. That's why they wouldn't let us into the army. Because we had a criminal record.
All right. So I think I got it. So alien racial environment, we can figure our race later.
Yeah.
We feel good. We got a merchant couple adopted us. They raised us as a good family. They were supportive. We can touch the siblings in the war in a moment. So we start off doubling our worth in lands and possessions.
I feel like that's when we first make the deal with like royalty. Like that's when our family starts making money with royalty. Like we make that connection and we start selling to royalty.
Oh, see, I was heading a different way there.
Oh
So
yeah,
what
dude,
if,
go ahead. No, your idea also. I want to hear it.
So what if our family had been pre-established at some like in the Telltale games of Game of Thrones, some long-lasting relationship with a local noble or the crown, whatever it may be, and through some sort of scheming and sabotage, our parents are not only crippled but murdered because our one sibling died in war. Our parents have now been killed, so they know there's no rightful heir to our family. So we get our family's possessions, and
That's how we double what we have. Is because
yeah.
Yeah, I could see that definitely. I mean, you don't necessarily take over the business. You just get whatever assets your family had at the time.
And then we gain a friend who's a big brother, like powerful individual. But down the road, we find out this was the guy who actually arranged for our parents to get killed. So he swoops in like he's being friendly to us, and we just don't even know till down the road.
Yeah, we just don't even find out. I mean, so then comes the question, how did you get in with the gang, though?
So
Maybe it's like growing up without any, like, parental structure. Like, parents to tell you no or anything. You, like, resort to, like, partying, make friends in kind of the dark end of town, and then you get in with his group somehow.
I like that. So we make friends.
Maybe that's why our other brother hates us, too.
We make friends with that powerful individual, which leads to a +1 intelligence. Perhaps that +1 intelligence is finding out the true nature of their betrayal of us, and that somehow we fall in with a darker gang or undergroup seeking to take them out, which would lead to our +1 dexterity.
Because you had training at this point. I mean, you've been working with them type thing, so... So then we're saying that you still have all these assets, but are you kind of like the prodigal son type thing? Like you left home, maybe in search of revenge, and that's why you don't have all this money with you?
And that's why our sibling hates us, because we were the last remaining piece of the family, and now we've left them.
And now they're there taking care of all the assets by themselves.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, cool.
See, that I don't know how many that was, 15 minutes or so, but that's more developed than I feel the majority of people will tend to get their character backstories.
And that didn't even take very long at all.
All right, so just to hash this out, let's fill in what we've already got here.
Okay,
so
cool.
Do a tentative family timeline. So our family received some sort of royal contract to nobility or the crown.
Some sort of deed, I'd almost see, like we will trade with only you type thing.
Exactly.
Maybe, well, actually, let's find out what we were selling, though, also. What if the commodity is, like, a really rare commodity like mithril?
Okay.
Like, we find, like, a very, very big vein of mithril. Our family does.
I like it. So we happen to possess the land near the entrance to the mines, so we've been the one who have been mining it.
Exactly, and it's our right because it's on our land type thing.
Nice. Okay, so deed to mithril provisions. Then tragedy strikes when our parents are crippled in a mine cave-in, and
It was like arranged. Yeah, yeah.
they ultimately succumbing to their wounds. At the meantime, our older brother has died in a war with a neighboring kingdom. Then, so now we just need to flesh out this powerful individual who has arranged it and swoops in for a while, acting like a big brother.
I almost see him actually being like, unbeknownst to us, the head of this gang, of this powerful gang. Like, but he knows how to play his cards. So he arranges it, gets rid of the parents, swoops in, becomes friends with us, inducts us into the game so we feel like we have a family again, and we're under the tip of his thumb. So now he's got control of us and all of the land and the assets. So he's just playing his cards really well. Maybe he even knew our brother in the war.
Interesting.
Maybe he arranged his death too.
So how are we tying them to like the royalty or sway within the kingdom?
I almost imagine that this guy uses us to somehow get us to sign the deeds over to him.
Yeah.
And now he's got the tie into the kingdom, and he has all of this money, all this mithril mining and stuff. That way, he's making all this gold, selling to the kingdom, and he becomes like the most rich merchant, the richest merchant in all of the kingdom, like because he owns these mines now.
All right.
And maybe that's actually why our brother hates us. Because we were idiots.
Very good. So we'll say, how about this? Our parents were a dwarven couple, which explains their proficiency with pulling the mithril from the mines.
Okay, yeah, cool.
So that means we have a dwarven brother and sister. Our family received the royal contract, deed for being the sole mithril provisions for the realm. Our parents were crippled in a cave-in, while our older brother died in war. And then, how do we want to flavor this friend who swept in, who seems scheming?
What if he's of the same race as we are also? That's why we like feel connection to him.
Yeah, so I don't want to be the blanket dwarf elves.
Do you know what? I almost see a dragonborn. This big, massive, hulking dragonborn in a little dwarven family.
Go for it. That makes an alien racial environment.
Like, he's huge, and it's like in this like, but then like he finally meets like another dragonborn, and this guy is like super cool to him.
So that would also make more sense for us being naked. It's a little less ridiculous.
For what?
It's a little less ridiculous for us to be naked as a dragonborn.
Oh yeah, no, because we're just like scaled and everything. And I don't see like naked. I see like he walks around without wearing any armor. Like he just like has like his pants on or whatever, so he doesn't get a ticket for public exposure.
Yeah, because he grew up working in the mines, so he likes to just be a pair of pants.
Exactly, and he's like, "This is my natural armor" type thing. Like, so yeah, that's cool.
There we go. So parents crippled in a cave-in. Older brother dies in war. A fellow dragonborn swoops in, and now, yeah, that's interesting because this could still count as our childhood. So swoops in and just provides like comfort for us and helps guide us. We're overwhelmed with having to run the entire. Yeah, we're overwhelmed with having to run the entire mining operation.
And he offers to help us.
Yeah, he says, "I've got a gang full of guys who can help you out." And we don't
even know they're a gang. Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. Provides the gang for aid in running the mines, and now, since he was a childhood friend, this will go on for years as we develop, and we're kind of raised under his arm like he's a big brother. So, over that time, that aids us in our +1 intelligence because he kind of teaches us ways of the world. And throughout this whole time, he has been building his monopoly to be the biggest merchant within the kingdom. And we're naive, not even realizing that he's basically taking it away from us.
Exactly. Maybe like he even like we trust him so much that he's like, "Here, sign this co-contract with me." Maybe that's why we left. maybe like after we sign this contract, he makes an attempt on a life. There was some sort of subplot thing that if we die, he becomes the new owner.
Perfect.
So that would explain why we can't go back either, because he's still looking for us.
I like it. Raised by him, signed a contract. He tried to take our life, and then maybe, and by doing that, we realized that he's actually been running a pretty corrupt gang. We realized they weren't just workers. So we flee for our life, and throughout our travels, we find out there's another rival gang that has been seeking to overthrow him. They just haven't been able to find his base of operations. And then we got our connection to inner dream life.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right. So that was a little bit more fluffing out, but now we've worked our way through each of those pieces. So Dragonborn, raised by a dwarven couple with a brother and sister. Our family received a royal contract. They got the deeds to be the sole provider of mithril to the realm. Our parents were crippled in a mine cave-in while our other older brother died in war, and a Dragonborn swoops in. He knows that we are overwhelmed and unable to keep the operations running, so he says, hey, I've got this group of workers who can help you in the mines. We spend years doing that, thinking he's like an older brother. Eventually, he agrees to run the merchant front of it for us, so we sign a contract, and at a point he tries to take our life. We're forced to flee, and after time we encounter a rival gang that reveals how evil and nefarious he is.
Do you know what? Maybe this rival gang, they know even deeper information. Maybe this guy, what he's trying to do is he's trying to get an in into the royal like city, like the cat, not the city, but like the royal family. Like maybe what if his goal isn't even just like to take over the mines, but like, well, I mean, I guess this is for the DM to decide in all honesty once we give him this entire story, but what if his goals are actually even to take over the kingdom? Like maybe arrange some sort of a political marriage with the daughter.
And that's the fun thing about actually fluffing your characters out this way, is that you give your DMs so many options to create additional story arcs.
Like exactly, like what happened to the brother that hates you? Did this guy also arrange the death of your older brother, the older dwarven brother, in the war? What was the war? Like what was happening at the time? Like all these little details are up to your DM to decide and to incorporate into the story. Maybe you'll give him ideas that he never even considered.
So that's I don't know how long most people spend building the backstories for their character, but this is fairly well developed for most characters that I come across, and it didn't take an awfully long time. But now I'd other than rolling stats and picking skills, which is personal preference on how you do that, this guy's about ready to roll.
Exactly.
Except the hardest part, which is thinking of a name, for me at least.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Like what I do is for naming characters, some people like maybe they like have a hard time with this. There's a website that I use. I'll link all of these websites in the description below for whoever watches this and wants to like try these things out. But there's a fantasy name generator. What I like to do is I kind of generate a name for this race, but then I take like the first syllable and this last syllable of two different names and put them together.
I like it.
And it provides some interesting results, and you just choose what sounds good to you, and I'm sure it'll be fine. So.
Yeah, I can throw backstories together so quickly, but I'll spend just as long trying to think of a good name. It takes me forever.
Yeah, definitely, man. But with this, the way I see this guy kind of fitting into a setting is some sort of honestly, this could fit into any setting. This character could.
Yeah, I feel like we could. This could go for fantasy or steampunk, high magic, low magic. Really, anything would work for that.
Because there's not really any specific mention of anything like how it worked or anything, or so like it could fit in. This could really fit into any setting that you wanted it to.
Yeah. So, so we'll make up a random setting, and then with this, so this can be kind of like an interest post. You find if someone's offering to run a campaign or a session. They'll explain the brief version of what they're planning to run, and typically they'll provide the sort of action to expect. So we can say that this character we've just created gives us the feel for what our interest post would be, and now we can run through just randomly creating a character for that world on the top of our head.
I'm seeing like a fantasy low magic setting. It's kind of what's going through my mind as I'm looking at this character.
Yeah, man, I feel, I mean, kind of your typical Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Or your typical D&D, like Game of Thrones blend. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm seeing the political upheaval, the struggles, the war.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that, definitely.
Cool.
Okay, so that's the setting we're looking at. So we just did this by rolling up a character. So this one was completely random. We did not know what we were going to come up with, but now we're going to show you how to make a character in this given setting. We've already decided on this low magic fantasy setting, how to make one from scratch, how to come up with ideas based off the setting, the interest post that comes in. So I almost imagine the interest post being describing some sort of political upheaval that's happening, describing a war that's going on, and that's pretty much it. It's just talking about kind of the way that the world is at the moment.
Yeah.
So we decided we wanted to make a complementary character to this setting that we came up with. This guy would fit into also. So I guess let's get started.
Yeah. Now, so I do mine backwards for some people, but the way I kind of like to do my characters is I like to roll my stats first, and then I get an array of 6 numbers, and what I can do is still gives you latitude to pick the sort of character you want to play. But if I realize I've got an 18 and a 5, then I can just by arranging them in order, it gives me a better feel for, okay, what sort of person am I going to do? And that's where I build mine from. What sort of place do you start your characters with?
So usually whenever I build a character after looking at an interest post, it kind of just starts with a singular idea that I have. Not necessarily a race or a class or anything, but I'm like, let me see. Let me see. Come up with some sort of an example. For the Mines of Phandelver campaign, you're going to be running on Wednesdays. The way I kind of came up with this character is with what little information I know about the Mines of Phandelvers, which is practically nothing. I just kind of had this idea in my mind of. Actually, with him, I started with a class. I was looking at that homebrew class, the Void Warlock, that I've already cleared with you and we've already talked about. But it basically is a character who was forced into a pact that he did not want. And I kind of just started rolling with that. Like, how did he end up in that situation? Why was he that way? What kind of a person is he before that situation? And I just get a couple ideas like that flowing, and pretty much it just kind of comes from there. Which is kind of, it's really general the way I described it. But, I mean, my way isn't the same as everyone else's. So we can run with yours because it's easier to do for you. And for me, I could see that one, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe we can run for this. We can say that our DM who's trying to pull us in his campaign made a very detailed interest post. And his interest post basically summarized what our campaign will be. So he describes the brief history of our Dragonborn friend, and maybe our campaign is we've been pulled in by this rival gang of people or whatever, and they've been seeking adventurers to join this Dragonborn in attempts to overthrow an evil, it sounds cliche, but an evil group of thieves or rogues who are attempting to overthrow the realm. So the last character we made was basically like an NPC plot hook character. Yeah, so he's like our main character we're trying to help. So that immediately that gears us in on, okay, so this game could center on shadowy kind of thief type settings, but it'll also include maybe diplomacy, backstabbing, and politics. And so immediately it's get your creative juices going for that sort of setting. Yeah, and with a war going on, it wouldn't be that odd for soldiers to be about also maybe get pulled into the struggle. That's it. So that way anyone fits the setting on reality. So what I'll do, I'll use dice stream so we can all see it. I'm going to go ahead and follow my routine, and then we can talk through it together. So I'll roll some stats. So, that's not good. So the first one we get is 9. This is why not in love with Dice Stream.
Yeah, man. Dice Stream doesn't like me either. That 5, man.
That's better. So we got 17 for next one. So we've already got a disparity there.
Okay.
Next one we've got, that's
12?
13.
No, 13. 13. You're right.
All right. And 6, 15.
15. Yep.
We're doing okay.
It's better than my character for the Mines of Fendelver.
There we go.
Oh, there's the 5.
Yeah, so we've got our 5. So we're going to be on two ends of the spectrum here. And we'll round it out with a 10. So that's not awful. So now, we've got a 17, a 9, 13, 15, 5, and 10. So obviously we've got a super dump stat and a really good stat. Now what I like to do is, I suppose I start as well. I get an initial feel for what I want my character to be. So I think of the area I want to be operating in, and now I'll assign those attributes accordingly. Mm-hmm. So if I'm not sure where I want to go, I think at first what I want my dump stat to be. So let's see, what sort of character do we think I want to play?
I feel like the normal dump stat for everyone is like intelligence, because like if you're not like a mage or something like that, like it doesn't really matter how high your intelligence is.
Yeah.
But just based off this setting, I'm feeling some sort of a hand-to-hand combatant, especially with a low magic setting.
Yeah. Agreed. And so, side note here, as far as home rules, if anyone wants to pick it up, what I like to do, because intelligence is such a common dump stat, is take classes that involve intelligence, like wizards or anyone really who chooses not to do intelligence as a dump stat, and utilize intelligence to add to your initiative rolls on the realms of wit and cunning, etc. You can react just as quickly as you would with dexterity. So it's just a way to encourage people not to dump it. So yeah, hand-to-hand dex fighter. You could also see maybe even a bard, something for cunning, which I think that's just, I haven't played bard in so long. It's
well, I mean, everyone will have what they lean towards what they haven't played in such a long time. That's kind of why I was feeling a warlock for your campaign, because I've never played one and I've always kind of wanted to.
So then, yeah, so for us to be attracted by a gang of thieves or rogues or whatever shadowy people are getting in, we can maybe lean towards being, whether it's a fighter or a rogue, just something up close and personal. So what do you say we run that 17 right into dexterity?
Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm honestly seeing kind of a character who was already part of the gang as we make this, somebody who was already in the know-how.
So let's just completely handicap them and go 5 to strength.
Yeah, no, I could see that, definitely.
Now we've got 9, 13, 15, and 10. So why not a 15 charisma?
Yeah. I honestly kind of want to put my 9 in wisdom, which is like the second staff for the rogue that you want to have.
Yeah.
Because I kind of like see this, like, the reason why they're sending him with them is kind of, he's like the outcast rogue. Like, he's quick and he's charismatic, but when it comes to paying attention or being aware, he sucks at it.
And so with that, we can put a 10 on Constitution, because he's really not just outstanding, but he does have the 13 intelligence. So like, he knows what to do. He just isn't good at doing it.
Exactly. So he's got the know-how. Exactly. Again, he's got the know-how, but he doesn't. He has part of the skill set that he's fast and quick, but he just sucks at paying attention.
There we go. All right. So we're already just by doing the stats early on, it lets you get a feel for what your character is going to be and how you're going to play them. So that's why I like to do stats up front. They tell. It may not be as easy for newer players, but once you get a feel for the stats, just looking at the array can give you ideas on how your character will play.
Yeah, definitely. And You know, with this character that we're kind of drafting up right now and looking at, I could see this character being a bard or a rogue, somebody very charismatic, somebody who's very quick on their feet. Um, maybe not the strongest individual, maybe not the he's kind of smart, but definitely not a can't really take a hit either.
You
But
know, how about we do a retcon here? Let's flip the 17 dex to charisma and give him 15 dex, 17 charisma. Let's make him a bard. He had been kind of the comedian, the entertainer for the group, and no one ever actually viewed him as a fighter.
yeah, no one ever considered that he could do anything for the group, kind of like the unsuspected hero.
Nice. I'm
And
liking it.
everyone's like, "Oh, we're looking for volunteers to help this guy," and he's like, "Me, Ming, me, pick me." And
Yeah,
everyone's like, "That guy? He hasn't done anything worthwhile like ever."
good. So we got a character who hears about this fight. For all intents and purposes, these the Dragonborn led gang that we're opposing is a viable threat against the kingdom itself, which would motivate any adventurer. But maybe our character feels a particular pull to the situation after hearing the Dragonborn story.
Maybe he even has a similar story.
There we go. So yeah, that's the after getting the mechanics out of the way, like I said, the motivation, like this is what's really going to build our character. So we've got a guy who was a bard. He was an entertainer for our group of scoundrels. And when the call for adventurers went out, something inside him pulled him towards the call to help.
What if I'm just kind of spitballing this idea here? Like, what if not the reason isn't because I mean, maybe he has a little bit of a similar story where he's kind of gone through some betrayals and stuff in his life, but what if one of the people working with this dragonborn who kind of stole, you know, whatever, the mithril mines from this guy and from this other dragonborn, what if his brother was in league with him?
Interesting.
What if he had a brother who was just as charismatic as him, just as, you know, dexterous, but he made a name for himself and he became well known. He's like the brother that succeeded. So instantly I see a little bit of a self-esteem complex there in this character.
Yeah, that's so now this will go maybe more towards DMing tips, but I think it can hit players as well. One thing you always want to balance is making too many convenient connections, because something may sound really nice in your head, like I've done multiple times before, but then I'm like, wait a second, does my character have to know someone who's related to this, or someone like, sometimes I find the more interesting, not for this guy in particular, but this just is a tangent. Sometimes I find the more interesting adventurers are the ones who truthfully have no stake in the fight. Like you're not pulled to be passionate about this fight. So what makes them put their life at risk? Sometimes that mystery is just as intriguing. But that's a tangent.
No, I could see that. No, definitely. Like, you know, you can nix the that his brother's in league with him. Actually, I could see that he just wants to be useful. Maybe that's what his motivation is. He just wants to be somebody.
Yeah, perhaps the years of derision and entertaining and being called useless is finally fed up, and he feels like, you know what, I'm gonna be a member. I'm gonna earn my place in this group.
He wants to contribute. Maybe like he spends so much time singing about heroes and their great conquests that he feels the desire now to be one.
That's perfect. And tie into the ultimate desire of every bard, which is to tell the ultimate story of the epic adventure and the journey, and he won't get to do it unless he goes and lives it.
Exactly. So he's finally kind of just been like, okay, enough. Like, I've been called worthless. I've been called a halfwit. I've been called, you know, all these different derogatory terms. He's been living under kind of this belief that he is not worth anything besides his voice in this world. But he decides that this one day, you know, enough. And when he raises his hand, everyone kind of just like looks at him like, what? Like this guy? Like, but all he does is sing.
Nice. That's perfect. So there, I think we've hit our, as far as checklists when I build characters, I always want to hit their background and their motivations, why they're in the fight, which I think we got both of those nailed down. Down the road, we could maybe even delve on what happened before he joined this gang or what led him there. But for the immediate moment, like we've got why engaging in the fight. So the last piece, which I feel is possibly the most important to having a good character, is also my favorite. That's figuring out specifics for their personality, which is if they have any traits or quirks, and particularly their flaws. We can save that one for last.
Yeah. So you're talking personality, and I'm looking at this character right now, this bard that we're making, who kind of wants to join the fight now. I see a bard with low self-esteem who really does at this point believe that he's not worth it, that he can't do anything, that he won't be a hero, but maybe he doesn't even know why he raised his hand. But at the same time, I see him being a bard who isn't necessarily afraid to sing. Maybe singing is his solace, but he's afraid to stand out, really. And bards shouldn't be afraid of standing out. He's like a contradictory bard.
I like it. He, just by the nature of his duty, he has to go out against his character and go against his lack of confidence. That's interesting.
Exactly. I could see also for some good RP with that like his lack of confidence, maybe in certain situations, like his first fight, he'd have to maybe if the player is okay with this or like to do this, he'd have to make a roll or something to see if he can even, you know, lift a knife or cast a spell or not faint at the first sight of blood.
Nice. I like that. So may not be more of a first-time role player or a new player, but something like that would give a lot of potential for inner monologue and motivation.
Yeah, definitely. He's like that green soldier. Like the first time he sees war, because he's always heard about it and he's always dreamed of actually going to war. Like he's always believed in that glory that you'll find on the battlefield. But then when he first gets there, he realizes how grisly and bad. I'm trying to think of another word for it. Grisly and deadly that war actually is, or that battles actually are.
Yeah, that is one of the coolest aspects you can include. Like in war songs, things are noble and valiant, but every war there's grit and dirt. It's never fun building a war story.
Yeah, exactly.
So good. Awesome. So I think we nailed a key personality trait for him. Perhaps another one that is a foil off of that is when he flips on his entertainer switch when he's performing or singing. It is like a night and day difference. When he's able to sing of someone else's stories, it's like he can withdraw within his shell and become the other person.
Yeah, so almost like he sees when he sings himself emulating that person. Like he thinks that's kind of like his heroics, is making sure that these people's stories live on. That's why he can see himself kind of becoming that person when he starts to sing. Almost like, I'm trying to think of like a good example from like a movie or a book of this. Somebody who just like flips a switch and becomes completely different at a certain point.
Yeah, I can see what you're going for there. I like it.
Like I could see him like dancing on the stage and stuff, and like kind of like, you know, like one hand, like kind of like rocking his head back and forth as he's playing his lute, kind of getting into it, you know, winking at the barmaid like he would never do that before.
Nice. I love it. So we nailed down a good personality trait. Another one, what sort of, so we could hit the obvious, you know, greater good, noble adventure thing. I think a good ideal for a character is good to entitle, which, I mean, By ideal, I mean some sort of broader notion within the world that they feel is true no matter who you are.
Maybe his ideal is just that he believes in heroics. Like he believes that whenever something bad happens, somebody will always rise up.
And
I mean, that's what the stories always say. So
I am I'm kind of predictable whenever I make characters. I'm huge on contrast. I feel that polar opposites are just so wonderful. What if his ideal is that every person has some good to offer for the fight?
And he doesn't believe he has anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. That would be because that belief that he has contradicts not only who he is, but provides for an opportunity for the person playing this character to finally flip that switch and realize that, you know, I have something to offer as a as a bard or as a person in this cause. I have something to be, someone that I can offer to this world to make it better.
So there's some room for character growth. I love it.
Exactly. He's got this ideal for others. So honestly, in some ways, he's kind of a hypocrite. But so he's got this ideal for others, you know, like, why can't you be better? Everyone has good in them. But then he doesn't see it in himself.
That's perfect. That did it perfectly. Now, bonds are less important to me. Maybe someone can convince me why bonds are amazing. What hits me and makes every good character great is flaws. I like to include at least 2 flaws for each of my characters because it gives you so many options for role playing. So what sort of flaws, other than the self-esteem, I feel that's kind of tied into his character or his personality traits. What sort of flaws can we give this guy?
I almost see him being outspoken about other people's flaws.
Nice. Good. Let's see. Everyone has something good to offer.
So like he's like pointing out like, yo, why can't you be braver? Like, we needed you. And he's like cowering in the back corner, unable to even hold a knife.
So he's outspokenly critical of others.
Exactly. So like he does believe there's good in others, and he thinks that by pointing out the bad in others that they'll eventually become good.
So
but like in actuality, he just makes people angry and hate him.
So how about, you know, the quote, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. He's outspokenly critical of others, and every single bit of it is intended well.
To make them better.
But just like who the person is, you know, those people in real life, they mean well, but something about how they act just hate everything they say.
Exactly. It's like when they tell you that you should improve on that when they're like not even the best at it themselves or something like that. But like, I don't know. Like that's I don't think that falls in the same category as what we're talking about. But like, I know what you're talking about right now, what you're saying. Like, I completely agree. He's just one of those people.
Yeah. So like, you know, the dude means well, but you still can't help hating him.
Like you just kind of smile and nod, like, yeah.
Nice. So that's the last point I'll hit here is that I like to do 2 flaws. I like for one to be pretty character driven, like this one. It's more important. I think it's always fun to have one just for the hell of it flaw. Like in the last one shot I did, one I gave a guy was, you cannot stop yourself whenever you see baked goods. Like you have an unhealthy obsession with them. So something like that I feel is just fun flavor for a character.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, definitely. No. I like you give those flaws to people. Mine in the last one, I didn't play it very well. I wish I had, but I was playing a forest gnome who was really good friends with nature. Like he grew up in nature. He was really good friends with animals. He had a pet squirrel named Nibble, and my flaw was that I could not harm animals. So I was giving myself Constitution checks to see if I could. Well, it wasn't Constitution. I think it was. I don't remember what check I was doing to see if I could like overcome my desire not to hurt them, like even if it was to save my own skin. But yeah, no, like I love those ideas of flaws like that.
So what's a fun flaw we get for this guy? Let's see what I would throw him for if it was one of my characters. You get anything?
It's an interesting question for me though. Because now I'm wondering what kind of a flaw you gave Karash.
Oh yes, my character in your campaign. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That should come out. Maybe we'll see.
You son of a gun. Okay.
If you guys have any questions, go watch his Tales of Tumultir videos, and maybe you can figure it out.
Yeah, it makes me wonder now because I'm like looking back at all the different encounters. Is he? I'm almost feeling that he's distrustful of others and he doesn't talk openly.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, cool. But for this guy, let me see. I'm seeing because of his lack of self-esteem and his lack of not wanting to, get in fights with or never having been in a fight. I almost see him having maybe kind of anxiety or like shell shock when he gets into fights, especially when it comes to with other humans or like I don't know, like what is it, sentient? Well, not sentient, because like other humanoids, I guess, people who can think.
Nice. So he sees the good in everyone. So maybe we could flavor this one where we can work the mechanics later, but maybe he has to roll like maybe not con, wisdom, something like that, like some sort of will.
Will save, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so he has to do a will save at the start of battle, and maybe your range is like, 5 to 15. There's no problem. 15 to 20, he's super amped, and 0 to 5, he skips his first turn because he's trembling in his boots. Something like that could be fun.
Yeah, no, definitely, because it would make definitely make his whole hypocritical aspect and personality, it would make it feel more real as well, because there he is criticizing, why'd you kill him or whatever, or something, I don't know, like he's criticizing this one person for doing this one thing in the battle, but at the beginning of the battle he didn't even do anything because he froze.
I like it. Boom, there we go. All right, and let's see so I'll throw on a last one. I think I figured what I would give him here if he was one of my players I'm DMing. Something like, you think of bards, I think of the smooth talking, well-kempt, like put together people. I'm going to give this one, he just never considers personal hygiene. Just one of those things that doesn't occur to him. So rarely showers until people remind him. He's generally just kind of dirty and messy.
And yet he sings like an angel.
Yeah.
I see this I almost kind of like imagine this guy at the bar getting so drunk, and like he's always just smells nasty. He's always got this one seat, and then he gets up and he starts singing. Everyone's like,
yep,
like what the crap? And then he becomes super confident and suave and just like
the whole time he's drunk sitting at the bar, he's just telling people how they can improve, and everyone's like, this asshole. And then he sings. Yeah. And
everyone's just like throwing gold coins at him.
That's perfect.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I could see that.
All right, so I think we that one I would argue took maybe just as long as our first character did, but I feel he's well developed and he would fit this setting perfectly.
Yeah. The only thing he's missing is a little bit of backstory to explain like why he ended up inside of this group, etc. But like that kind of stuff isn't very hard to come up with. I mean, you just kind of give some sort of a hook, like maybe he's part of this organization because something tragic happened to him in his life that was caused by this group.
Agreed. And so I guess that hits the points we were trying to make. So to boil it down to like a take-home note for anyone who happens to be watching, for overall player character quality and improvement, just the key things that I do for when I'm creating is I like to roll my stats first because it gives me a feel for who I'm going to play. And as far as the actual character, like Ty was mentioning, the background is extremely useful, but if you don't love sitting down and talking about it for an hour or plus like we do, then just detail the starting point you need to hit and build from there. Like we explained from him being in the road group on, and we'll figure out the rest later, which probably
Yeah.
will, because I'm kind of excited about him.
What's
So-
interesting? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
No, you're good, man. What's up?
Oh, I was gonna say that what's important about a character is who they are now, not who they were for the most part.
That's true, and that hits my next point. So, take home points. I like to do stats first. You want to establish their motivation, so why they would be involved in the fight, and then you want to determine where they can go too. So in my character story, I always want to include some potential for growth, like our character realizing he has something to offer. And then the last bit, flaws, baby. Just put flaws in there. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And that's that's my choice for character creation.
I just had this one idea just barely actually is everyone always perceives elves as being this beautiful kind of, elegant people. What if he was an elf, a nasty elf?
Wait till you see my homebrew elves. They do not follow stereotypes. You should be interested.
Okay, cool. I'm interested, but for this setting, I would think it would just be funny if he was even an elf, like just like this nasty elf that never showers, doesn't take care of himself.
Yeah,
and it's just gross.
I've been picturing that this whole time, like a tall elf with greasy black ponytail.
Like even more like a high elf.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No, but I just wanted to add my last 2 bits also after everything you just said right there. We were talking about this before the video. We didn't actually really hit on it, but I wanted to emphasize that too often people kind of see dragonborns or, dwarves as being like the fighters because they've got the plus to strength and the plus to constitution or charisma. But I wanted to really emphasize that, your character is a living, breathing person as well. If you really see them that way, it's just a character can end up being anything. Like, for example, like we've got this elf who's supposed to be beautiful, but he's just disgusting. Or like, just think outside the box in that way. Like, don't see that your stats have to line up with whatever class you choose, or your race and your class have to line up. Sorry, that's what I meant. Think outside the box. That's what makes a character interesting. Why is this big burly dragonborn a bard? Or why is that one of the things that I've seen is like the half-orc bard? Like, why is this giant half-orc a bard? Like, none of his stats amplify any of that, but like, it's a cool character. How did he get there? It's interesting. And that's kind of characters that people like to play with and that I like to play as. So yeah, that's just kind of my 2 bits for the end of this, but
I think that's perfect, man. One of my favorite characters was a Goliath monk, giant guy who just rocked stealth and acrobatics. No one would have predicted it.
He's like holding onto the rafters of the ceiling, kind of just like just like if they would have looked up like a little bit, they'd see his butt hanging there.
It's hard to role play and explain why he was so stealthy, but he was good at it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Like, yeah, characters like that, that's just interesting. But do you have anything else to add before we finish?
No, that works for me. That's I feel that was pretty good.
All right, cool.
To hitting it up again.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm DM Ty. I was here at DM Day today, and I just wanted to thank everyone for watching. And if you number one, comment below for any cool stories of characters, interesting characters you had. Get those ideas flowing. I'd love to hear about them, how they fit into campaigns, etc. Cool character ideas that you have. And again, like, I hope you guys found this interesting. If you have anything else concerning player progression, please comment below if you'd like to see a different video of something else. And yeah, that's all I've got. You have anything else to say?
All right. See you guys later.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great night or day or whatever.